want to give birth. Why does it have to be so difficult? You know, and what we're trying to achieve with the third birth. So her second birth, she needed help. Baby was in posterior. They couldn't get the baby change positions. She doesn't have big babies, but she carries her babies in such a way, because she's tiny, where she has a pendulous belly. So it looks as if you have like a 3.5, which is really small anyway, but for her size, she looks as if she's someone carrying like a 4.5 kilo or 4 kilo baby, right? But because she's so small, her babies are just sticking out of her belly that way. Um, so what I was trying to achieve for her for this birth, because I got to know her during pregnancy through the prenatals, was to help her give birth in a way where she didn't need assistance, and for her to birth in an ideal situation where she could have a bit more control, which meant that ideally we would not be in a supine position. Now, because it was a third birth, we knew it was going to be fast. So by the time her labor started, she got her parents to come look after her kids, so on and so forth. That took about an hour of coordination. By the time we got to the hospital, she was 8 cm dilated. So it's just, for me, it's the usual, right? It's like, okay, she's 8 cm, she's there. Just got to wait for the waters to break if it does, for her to get pushy, and then we're done with the birth. But when she was pushing, or when she started feeling pushy, so the first part was relatively easy. You just trust the body, let her do what she wants to do, go with the feeling whatsoever. But so she started with side lying, because she still considered a VBAC. So she was on continuous monitoring, but we had wireless monitoring. So she started on side lying. And then after that, she went on all fours because she felt that was more comfortable for her. And then from all fours, she switched around being in a 90-degree flexion on the gym ball and on the bed. And then she got tired, so she went back to side lying. But it came to the point where she was ready to push. And they checked again just in case. When it's a hospital setting, we don't have that much control of how often the mother is being checked to a certain degree, right? Because the doulas are always, in our culture, like the bottom of the pit kind of thing. The lowest ranking people. And was just trying to help her feel empowered through the process. And so she was pushing and pushing and pushing. Now, sideline pushing wasn't effective. Extreme flexion pushing also wasn't effective. And one thing was clear, the mother was getting tired. And the challenge then is that if she gets overly tired and she's not able to push the baby out, then we're talking about assisted delivery. So this is where it's giving her the opportunity to try what she wants to do, right? And I know this doctor really well. Like, we've worked together for 16, 17 years. So I know the game plan. If she doesn't push effectively, at some point we're talking about assisted delivery. And he's concerned that the baby is in OP, but because the membranes haven't broken yet, you can't feel it properly. Right. And at some point she said, can you just break the waters to just hasten the process, because I'm getting tired. So we waited, we tried a little bit to see whether the waters would break on its own, and it didn't, even though it was leaking. So he broke the waters at her request after a few contractions. And it was reassuring to confirm that the baby wasn't in OP, but that he felt that the head was still somewhat transverse and still doing its internal rotation. So although the head is coming down, that gives us a clue where the baby's head actually is. It's still in inlet going to mid pelvis, and the head wasn't really down in outlet pelvis yet. The fact that the head is still in transverse and moving into internal rotation. But at some point when I looked at the situation, I had to prioritize, okay, if I don't suggest certain things and the pushing is not effective, she'll probably end up with assisted delivery. And if I were to suggest something, it would probably mean supine, because she has tried all the other positions with coach her on the pushing and it doesn't work. So in the end, I said to her, look, you've tried side lying, you've tried squatting, you've tried this level of flexion and things like that. And somehow your contractions are starting to taper off. As much as this is not a preferred position, would you like to try supine and go into extreme flexion and see whether this works for you? And straight away, when she did with her pendulous belly and everything, it's not the position I would like, but it worked for her. And her pushing became a lot more effective after. And most importantly, she birthed the baby without assisted delivery. So it goes against what I would like to do, knowing what I know, but yet it works. And the mother got the outcome that she wanted. And, I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. and I checked my phone and she's like, and I filmed the birth, right? And so she was like, oh my God, that was amazing. I got what I wanted finally, which she didn't get with a C-section, which she didn't get at the last birth with a VBAC because baby was taken away to NICU. And every mother wants is to have the baby in arms and hold the baby, right? Which is the whole purpose of going through labor, is to meet your baby and just bond with your baby. So the way I look at it is just using the tools and skills that you have. I find trust birth just to generalize a word, because do we trust ourselves and our bodies in the first place? And as much as we would like to trust birth, how do we trust birth when we don't even trust ourselves anymore? When we're not surrounded by a tribe of women who trust their bodies and know what to do during labor. So there's a lot of lost art in giving birth. And this is where I feel it's giving the power back to the women. But to give the power back to the women, you need to give the power back to the health professionals, because they come to the health professionals for expertise that they don't know as lay people. And this is why personally I look at, I don't just, oh, let's do this. I look at what is important for this mother, right? Let's give her the opportunity to try. But nobody wants a long labor. So what tips and tricks can we actually give them? And if she hits a roadblock and a challenging labor, she's looking at us to try to see, with our expertise, what can we actually do to help her labor to progress? So I don't see it as interfering. I see it as facilitating, because you're giving her an opportunity to try what she's willing to try, trying to find the balance with that, and yet also giving the suggestions to help her labor to progress.